Hey everyone! As I'm sitting here recording this video right now, XRP is trading below $3, but here's the deal. Don't get too comfortable with that price tag because it's not gonna last. If the analysts out there know what they're talking about, most of them do, then anyone wanting to grab more XRP at these levels, your clock is literally ticking down. There's a legitimate possibility we're witnessing XRP under $3 for the absolute final time in history. And I know how that sounds, but hear me out on this one. We're sitting in this perfect storm situation where XRP has already cemented itself as a clear-cut winner in the early crypto landscape, but we're still in such an infant stage of XRP's overall existence that practically nobody in the general population has even encountered the name XRP before, which means the door to absolutely transformational wealth is still wide open. Seriously. Wrap your head around this for a moment. Under 1% of the entire human population has ever touched XRP in their lifetime. Not a single coin. And here we are already dancing around $3. We literally just witnessed it crush through to a brand new all-time high at $3.65 this year alone. So yeah, I'm calling it now. When people rewind the tape years from today, there's going to be this overwhelming sense of, man, I really should have grabbed XRP back when it was that cheap. I think the regret factor is going to be huge. Now, I get where you're coming from if $3 feels pricey, especially for the veterans who've been holding through all those years when XRP barely scratched a dollar. From that angle, sure, these look like elevated prices, but my whole point, give it enough runway, and that entire mindset shifts dramatically. Picture yourself a whole decade into the future. What's that conversation gonna sound like? A decade from now, there's gonna be somebody out there absolutely face-palming, going, why didn't I pay attention back in 2025 when I had the chance to understand what was happening with XRP? And that could literally be you watching this right now. But hold up, let me just throw this out there real quick because it's super important. I'm not some Wall Street guru or anything like that. Zero financial background over here. So nothing I'm saying is financial advice, all right? Please don't go throwing your money around just because of what I'm sharing in this video. All right, so let me paint you a picture here. If you look back through history, and I'm talking about really famous, well-documented cases, there's this wild pattern that keeps repeating itself with basically every type of asset you can imagine. So, sure, right now we're focused on XRP and the whole crypto world, but trust me, this exact same thing plays out in the stock market too. Here's how it goes. Brutal price crash, right? And then what happens? Nothing. Just years upon years of this boring consolidation phase where things are quietly accumulating. People get impatient, they move on. But then, and this is the crazy part, it absolutely explodes upward and pretty much never looks back down. And I mean, don't get me wrong here. I'm not trying to tell you it's going to be some flawless vertical line on the chart. That's not reality. But here's the thing. When you pull back and look at the bigger picture, that chart's going to look like it was basically a rocket ship going straight to the moon. You want to know the textbook case? Amazon. Hands down. All right, so Chartner just dropped this post. My mind is kind of exploding right now. What's pulled up on your screen? Amazon stock. And we're diving into this specific window from 1999 stretching all the way to 2009. Now there's this other chart for XRP that I'm going to throw up in just a sec. He's breaking down XRP's journey from 2017 straight through to where we are right now. And guys, the parallels are actually insane. You know what? Let me just bounce between these two so you can really see it. Boom, here's the XRP chart. What he's calling out is that we're basically staring at the same exact setup Amazon went through. Listen, holding on to something that just flatlines year after year, that'll wear you down mentally. But the thing is, it's dormant right up until the moment it suddenly explodes. That's when the whole world piles in going, well, duh, obviously this was going to happen. Everyone's got their explanations ready to go. Classic Monday morning quarterback energy, right? Hindsight makes everyone look like a genius. But for those of us who've been in the XRP community this whole time, we always knew. Like it wasn't even a question that XRP was going to skyrocket. Dead obvious. Why? Because real utility wins, period. XRP actually solves problems, so naturally the market was going to recognize that eventually, once XRP gets a fair shot and isn't constantly under attack from the SEC anymore. Here's what Chart Nerd pointed out. Amazon peaked in 1999 and then spent almost 10 full years in the trenches before launching into this vertical moonshot past $20. Ring any bells? Because if you look closely, it bottomed out at... Hold up. Actually, I'm just going off what I remember here, but I'm like 99% sure that when the dot-com bubble popped and everything went to hell, Amazon stock crashed down to something like 0.91 or $0.92. Don't quote me on that. Someone please Google this and let me know if I'm wrong, but we're talking ridiculously low. Just eyeball this chart for a second. It literally almost touches the bottom. I mean, we're talking absolutely rock bottom after sitting comfortably above $5 during the whole dot-com hype cycle. And then guess what? Nearly 10 years of just waiting. Does any of this ring a bell? If you're sitting on XRP right now, you're probably screaming at your screen like YES. But check out what happens once it actually smashes through that resistance level. Straight vertical climb to $20, and right now, in this moment as I'm filming, Amazon's sitting at $225 per share. So yeah, $20 was just the beginning. But put yourself in those shoes for a minute. You're holding Amazon stock back then, watching paint dry for years, thinking, maybe I made a horrible mistake. The emotional roller coaster must have been brutal. That's literally the XRP story playing out right now. Except guess what? It's finally taking off. I mean, we're just getting started. We've already punched through all-time highs this year. The really wild part, still coming. But anyway, Chart Nerd follows up with this gem. XRP peaked in 2017, and here we are 8 years later, finally breaking that ceiling. But sure, my $27 target is unrealistic. Honestly, I don't think it's unrealistic whatsoever. Now look, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I know exactly where this price is going. I'll straight up admit it, I have no idea what the exact numbers will be. What I do know, same as you, is that directionally this thing's going up over time. But $27, that doesn't sound remotely insane to me. I actually went through this whole thing several days ago when he originally dropped it back on October 4th. So then this morning rolls around, and what does he do? He reshares the exact same post with nothing but this killer line, XRP 2017 style run loading. It's still coming. Even Cointelegraph is finally starting to see the light here. I mean, just look at what they're saying. The headline literally reads, 3 reasons XRP's time spent under $3 could be short-lived. And listen, if you know anything about Cointelegraph, you know they have seriously spent most of the past decade just absolutely dumping on XRP. Like, we're talking garbage articles, total nonsense, the whole 9 yards, right? But now, oh man, they must be feeling some serious pressure to actually publish content that reflects what's really going down. What I'm saying is, they're finally cranking out some genuinely positive XRP stories. And why? Because if they just keep being dead wrong about XRP over and over, their whole audience is going to lose faith in them completely. The truth is, XRP has been on fire, climbing higher and higher. We're literally looking at the #1 top performer in the entire top 100 coins by market cap ever since November hit, right after the election came through. And here's my take. It's far from over, my friends. I genuinely will not be shocked if XRP breaks into double-digit territory. Like, seriously, that happening wouldn't surprise me even a little bit. So anyway, diving into this article here, and look, I've got to be fair and give them props where they've earned it. This is actually a really well-written piece overall. They actually did slip up on one thing in this article, and I'm totally going to call it out when we hit that section. But it's not even like a debate or opinion type thing. They literally just fat-fingered a number. Like classic typo moment, you know? All right, so let me break down what they're saying here. XRP busted through that sweet $3 barrier on October 2nd, right? But then it couldn't really hold on to that momentum. It basically slid back down to $2.84 by the time Tuesday rolled around. And here's the critical part. When it closed below that psychological $3 threshold for the day, it also dropped below support from the 50-period exponential moving average, or EMA if you want to get technical. And that's basically screaming short-term weakness vibes. But wait, don't freak out just yet. Because there are actually a bunch of structural and on-chain indicators all pointing toward the same conclusion, that XRP's little rough patch here is probably just temporary. Like, we've literally got catalysts queuing up left and right that could spark a serious rebound over the next few weeks. And okay, side tangent, seeing this was actually super fascinating to me because in my very last video, I went through perspectives from literally 10 different XRP chart analysts. And one of these guys was building this really solid argument that there's very legitimate reason to think that over the coming weeks, XRP is actually going to launch into that rally where it just absolutely rips upward, the legendary face-melting rally everyone dreams about. Now, will his timing be perfect? I honestly have no clue. But the thing is, he might nail it, especially considering we're getting closer to those later stages of the overall market cycle. Though real talk, even if we completely ignore the timing aspect, I genuinely don't doubt it's coming eventually. We're just going to have to watch and see when it pops off and how ridiculously high XRP rockets when it finally does. But is that coming? Oh yeah, I'm totally convinced it is. All right, moving on. October could be absolutely game-changing for XRP because guess what? The US Securities and Exchange Commission is staring down final deadlines on 16 crypto ETF applications, and multiple spot XRP ETF filings are expected to land somewhere between October 18th and October 25th. Now, the regulatory landscape, it's completely different now since the SEC gave the green light to new generic listing standards in September 2025, basically making the whole approval process for commodity-based exchange-traded products way smoother. Okay, I'm going to hit pause here real quick because I need to highlight something crucial. I've broken this down extensively before, so I won't dive super deep again here. But listen, you absolutely need to grasp this point. Here's exactly why XRP spot ETFs aren't already live. They've deliberately delayed approving any single coin spot ETF, not just XRP, literally every single one, because they wanted to establish these generic listing standards first. Once that's done, everyone's got to play by those exact same rules. This is the breakthrough moment we've been waiting for. Now, full transparency, while I'm filming this video, there's a government shutdown happening, meaning the SEC definitely won't be approving anything during this window. Like, there's virtually a 100% certainty nothing's going down right now. But let's be real about these government shutdowns. They roll around approximately every 2 years, honestly. Looking back across the last 50 years, that's basically the rhythm. And here's the thing, they typically don't last very long. We might be looking at a few weeks here, then boom, everyone's back grinding at their government jobs. And that precise moment when the whole crew's back at the SEC, that's your green light moment. That's when approvals start rolling. So yeah, patience is the name of the game right now. Listen, I'm not going to sit here and pretend I know exactly if that timeline's going to pan out perfectly. Let's just watch how this whole shutdown situation plays out. But here's what I know for sure. It's coming regardless. And once this rocket launches, those sweet days of grabbing XRP under $3, consider them numbered, at least until we ride this wave to the top of the market cycle. Now here's where it gets juicy. Every single one of those 11 XRP ETF proposals has already sailed past their listing standards deadlines, which opens the door for something wild, potentially getting approved all at once. If the SEC gives the thumbs up, analysts are estimating these ETFs could vacuum up anywhere from $3 billion to a whopping $8 billion in institutional capital, basically mirroring what happened during those initial Bitcoin and Ether ETF launches. And here's more fuel for the fire. CoinShares' latest data really hammers home this bullish vibe, revealing XRP investment products sucked in $220 million in new inflows just this past week, bumping year-to-date inflows all the way up to $1.8 billion, with assets under management hitting $3.2 billion. And friends, here's the crucial part. when this level of cash starts flooding the gates, there's this multiplier effect that amplifies everything. So personally, I'm laser focused on XRP's price trajectory over years and decades ahead. I've hammered that point home repeatedly on this channel, but being totally honest, short term, if enough money rushes in fast enough, we could see some seriously meaningful price action happening sooner than later. Okay, so let's dive in and see just how absolutely blazing hot this thing's about to get. Listen, I really believe there's this huge amount of pent-up demand just sitting there ready to explode. My honest take, this is going to perform incredibly well. And other XRP investment vehicles that recently hit the market, they've all had these substantial and seriously impressive launches. Now, Cointelegraph dropped a report showing that XRP's bullish to bearish sentiment ratio actually slipped below 1, which basically means negative commentary is now outweighing positive mentions across all the social platforms. But here's what's fascinating, historically speaking. These retail, fear, uncertainty, and doubt phases, they've consistently happened right before strong rebounds because capitulation frequently signals market bottoms. People, they're absolutely right about that observation. I actually brought this exact thing up in my last video, just touching on it briefly because I'm fairly certain it's on-chain analytics from Sentiment that's been tracking all that data. And they fully understand, and they've said it themselves, that when the sentiment for crypto holders, and in this particular case, specifically XRP holders, when that's completely in the gutter, that's genuinely a good sign if you're wanting the future to look bright, because that's precisely what comes right before massive, truly massive price action historically for XRP every single time. So it's just another point of confluence that you can look at to give yourself confidence that yes, XRP is absolutely without question eventually going to melt faces this market cycle, shooting up into crazy price discovery before this thing ultimately peaks. Now hold on, there is a mistake here. They're citing 55 million XRP right here in their article. And I'm pretty sure the actual number is closer to 455 million. So I'm just going to read through this and just keep in mind that when I read it exactly as written, it says 55 million XRP. Just be aware it's definitely a typo because the math completely falls apart the way they calculated things over here. And I'll actually show you guys the chart too. I'll zoom this thing in. It's got to be something more like 455 million. But here's exactly what they wrote down. Meanwhile, large holders have been taking full advantage of the weakness. Over the past 3 days, whales have accumulated 55 million XRP, worth nearly $1.1 billion. On-chain data also revealed the net holder position change has stayed positive since August, indicating consistent accumulation around that $3 level. So here's a zoomed in version of this chart. And if you actually look at how much XRP they're referencing in recent days, it would be way more like closer to that 455 million level. And that would also make the math actually work depending on XRP's price to where it would be at least closer to $1.1 billion. So it's crypto media doing crypto media things. They screwed up here. Crypto media is packed full of a bunch of C students. I totally get it. All right, so they whiffed on that one. But you know what? The core message is still spot on, folks. The whales, the deep-pocketed players, they're loading up on XRP, while your average retail investor is basically moping around, feeling all gloomy about it. And can I just say, that's foolish, like ridiculously foolish. There's literally no logical reason to be bummed about XRP at this moment. Everyone, just keeping it real with you. Look, despite this short-term sideways action we're witnessing, XRP's price foundation, rock solid from a historical perspective, right now it's holding the strongest weekly and monthly closes we've seen since it crushed through those old 2017 peaks. Think about that for a minute. Meanwhile, this crypto analyst Ether Nacional dropped some knowledge saying XRP shattered its 7.5-year downtrend channel against Bitcoin toward the end of 2024. That's a monster shift in the landscape with steady buying pressure throughout this entire past year. You know, I actually broke this down. I think it was like 2 days back. So seeing Cointelegraph validate this and basically say, yep, the data supports this. It's reality. It adds up. And man, it's refreshing to see. Obviously, this tracks, right? They continue by pointing out the current setup mirrors a bullish fractal pattern that could potentially deliver somewhere between 60% to 85% upside if XRP punches through $3.30 convincingly. Trader Dentoshi spotted comparable signals, suggesting that extended consolidation or base building typically fuels bigger explosive moves later. But wait, because naturally, oh geez, Peter Brandt. I gotta mention Peter Brandt here. This dude's literally legendary in the crypto space. He earned his reputation way back in late 2017 by nailing Bitcoin's cycle peak almost perfectly near that 20,000 mark. He also nailed the bottom too. Middle of December 2018, Bitcoin sitting around $3,200, he called it. The absolute bottom. So naturally, the guy's built up this massive following in the crypto world. The man's been trading for literally half a century at this point. And look, his talent, genuinely impressive. I mean, we're talking exceptional skill here. The track record speaks for itself. Except, and here's where it gets weird, when it comes to charting XRP specifically, he has whiffed on every single major move in its entire history. We're talking over a decade here, people. Every meaningful XRP pump, missed it. And actually, throughout all of this, he's typically been spreading FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt about it. Looks like XRP is heading down. Wrong. Again and again. How does someone nail literally everything else, but then bomb so spectacularly and consistently on XRP? What's the deal here? Well, the answer's pretty clear. He's suffering from XRP derangement syndrome. And yeah, that's a real thing. A terrible condition. His personal bias is bleeding into his technical analysis, whether he realizes it or not. I honestly don't know if he's aware he's doing this. I can't tell if he understands that his bias has completely hijacked his judgment on this particular asset, but man, it's bad. And I genuinely don't understand how someone this gifted at reading charts can be this consistently incorrect about XRP specifically, but here we are. He just is. Including that massive breakout we saw back in November. Yep, missed that one too. So look, you could technically argue that the July jump was the last one, right? But here's the thing. When XRP actually took off in this cycle, Peter Brandt completely missed it. And I'm talking missed it like, how many analysts do I follow who not only saw it coming, but literally explained why it was so obvious? And guess what? They were right. I'm not even exaggerating. I'm talking dozens and dozens of analysts that I follow who accurately called XRP's breakout before it happened, but this incredibly talented analyst who's been crushing it for literally 50 years, he didn't see it coming. And the wild part is he consistently nails what's happening with Bitcoin and pretty much every other chart out there. Like, come on, right? So, yeah, it's kind of funny when you think about it. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Trader Peter Brandt actually pointed out that if we get a daily close below $2.65, that could be the defining moment for XRP. Why? Because that would basically confirm a descending triangle pattern forming. Here's the actual post they were talking about right here. So he drops two images with this thing. The first one is, you know what? Let me just walk you through it so you can really get what's happening. It's from Edwards and McGee. And then the next image I'm going to pull up for you is XRP. So listen to what he's saying. On the left, and that's what's on your screen at this very moment, is a textbook descending triangle pulled straight from Edwards and McGee, demonstrating what descending triangles are meant to do. On the right, that's a descending triangle that's currently forming. And he says, only if it closes below $2.68, then I'll be a hater. Those are literally his words. Then it should tank down to $2.22. So honestly, he's the only person I could actually find posting something bearish about XRP. I mean, okay, technically speaking, there have been maybe a couple analysts who were like, all right, it's possible, but pretty unlikely that XRP might slide to lower levels if the whole market crashes. I've posted a few of those before, but don't you find it hilarious? Like every single time this man mentions XRP, it's almost always with this negative vibe and never about the bullish possibilities. Mind blowing, right? It's genuinely mind blowing. And look, we all know exactly why, don't we? It's that bias showing up. It's that bias leaking through. And you know what? It's honestly just kind of amusing. That's really all I'm getting at here. If the entire market decides to nosedive, yeah, XRP is going to follow that train down too. But thinking XRP would just randomly implode all by itself while everything else is cruising along, that's honestly, that doesn't even make sense for where we are in this cycle right now. I'd be genuinely shocked if that happened. What's actually going on is XRP is showing some absolutely insane strength, and I'm still convinced the real fireworks haven't even started yet. Quick disclaimer though, I am not a financial advisor whatsoever. Don't you dare buy or sell anything just because of what I'm telling you here, all right? That would be a massively, massively, massively bad move on your part. See you in the next video.